We need to talk about a word that perhaps makes us feel uncomfortable, and that's the word ugly in relation to hair loss. And the reason I bring that up today, hang on just a second. Oh, it's a new comment. We'll get back to this in just a second. But the reason I this morning made a video talking about ugliness in relation to hair loss is this. It's more of a quote that I get in my comment section. Now, if you were me, you would know that I keep up with every single comment that anyone ever leaves on my YouTube channel. Not that I respond to them all, but I read them all. I make a point to do that. It's important to understand my audience as I make these videos. So as I read every single comment I get, you can imagine if you're me, you get several a week in which some person I never heard of shows up and leaves a comment saying, "Your hair looks ugly. You look ugly with that hair. You need to shave that off. You need to get Propecia." So they're telling me that I'm ugly. Now, granted, it doesn't affect my self-esteem at all, but that's what they're saying. Again, I always say it reflects their self-esteem. They don't feel good about themselves, therefore they project that upon me, which doesn't do anything to me because I'm a confident person. But they're telling me that I'm ugly because of my hair. And then also, what I also encounter is young guys, teenage years, saying that they feel ugly because they're starting to see that their hair is thinning or the hairline. So the word ugly is a word from people who watch this channel, from people who are watching and subscribing. They're using that word ugly. So that's why I felt today, ow, man, yesterday it was the bug in the eye, and then today it was that. I'm glad I wasn't walking that way and hit my eye on that thing. Man. Okay. So what was I saying? I've kind of got amnesia now. So yeah, so ugly is a word that people use in the comment section. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to embrace this word because I believe in facing fears head on because it takes power away. Just like we can maybe take away power from the word ugly. So with all that being said, let's get back to this. All right, what does it say? Okay, well, obviously, we can expect this is a response to the video that I'm talking about that I made earlier today called Hair Loss Crisis. Are you ugly yet vain? And that's something, again, people who have commented have said about themselves, that they feel ugly or that they tell me that I'm ugly. So if you focus so much on how ugly you are for hair loss, does that make you vain? Now, I'm not saying that if you lose your hair, you're ugly. We're going to get to that. We're going to actually take that to an extreme, perhaps in the other direction. You'll see what I mean. I'm happy about the direction of this video because it helps me grow as a YouTuber as far as my subject matter, and hopefully it can help you as well. All right, here it is. Robert, here's an excerpt of something he said. I love the whole thing, but here's just an excerpt. Quote, "Society as a whole has its own notions of beauty. Hair loss objectively makes most men less attractive." Translation, the word ugly that people are using in the comments. "If you went from average to ugly over the course of a few short years, it wouldn't disturb you at all? Question mark. Is it vain to worry about hair loss? Perhaps a little, but men with hair loss often face many problems and psychological challenges. And I don't think vanity cracks the top 10. End quote. Now, let's go on to another comment. Again, just an excerpt for the sake of time here. But Maxwell Smart, quote, "I agree with Robert. We are all vain to some extent in a personal way. I don't think it has to do with looking ugly. I think what you are describing as vanity is really insecurity and the loss of self-confidence as hair loss sets in." This is gold to me. This helps me, and hopefully that'll help you as well. I want to unpack. I want to unpack some of this right now. The first thing I want to look at is Robert's question when he asked me, if you went from average to ugly over the course of a few short years, it wouldn't disturb you at all? And again, ugly is the word that people in the comments are leaving. I'm only quoting, and we're going to explore this word to make it less of a monster and realize that ultimately, is ugly, is it more of what we'd call an objectional, not an objectional, but more of a term that we see as subjective, would that be the word? Where I'm a good person compared to the axe murderer, you know, one of those things, you know, as long as you're comparing yourself to something else, It's good. And it's the same thing with ugly. It's the same thing with attractive. You know, it's based on society, and then therefore us subscribing to what society deems as ugly or not. So, with that being said, if you went from average to ugly over the course of a few short years, wouldn't it disturb you at all? Here's my answer to that for Robert. Are we basing this on hair loss? Because if we're basing it on hair loss, I keep saying, bring it on. Let this all fall out. Let me start shaving my head. Let's be done with it. Because to me, hair loss, check this out. To me personally, my definition of what can make a man handsome or ugly, it's not about hair. If you're buzzing it off, and I get it that everyone's got different head shapes and everyone has different levels of being attractive, but for me, I don't see a shaved head or a buzz, I don't see that as ugly, and I see it as an advantage. I think it makes a man more attractive. I do. Like, I get it, like there's this Hollywood version of what's attractive. Like, I admit it'd be weird to see like Paul Rudd, because he's a good looking guy, funny, good looking guy. If he shaved his head, that'd be kind of weird, because he's still got a good amount of hair to be in his, what, late 40s now? Mid 40s? So I get it. I get it that would change things. But still, he'd be a good looking guy, and I just think it's a good look. And it's funny because my wife does the same way. Back to society though. In my society, I have a very good looking wife who thinks men with buzz heads are attractive. So in my society, the one that affects me most, that I wouldn't be going to ugly in a matter of a few years. Are we talking about something else? Then that's probably a whole different conversation. If we're talking about some other way I could get ugly. I want to go back to what Max had said. He said, insecurity and a loss of self-confidence as hair loss sets in. And I think I want to end with this irony. Okay? I'm definitely losing my hair. Slowly but surely I am. I'm not in denial. I embrace it. Nor am I throwing the baby out with the bathwater by thinking, oh no, because I'm losing my hair, I'm not doing either of those. But here's the irony. As I get older, as I lose more hair, and we could say, arguably, for those people who say that men become uglier as they lose their hair, I'm not one of them. I say if you embrace it and shave it, then you're more attractive. That's what I personally believe in my idea of what makes men attractive. And I know that sounds weird because I'm a straight guy married to a woman. That's beside the point. I think men are attractive with shaved heads. That's how I see the world. You can't change my view of how I see. That's how I see it. I understand that maybe most of society doesn't see it that way, but that's how I see it. And I've felt that way since I was like 21, the first time I shaved my head. So that's how I feel, right? But here's the irony. As I become balder and arguably uglier, my confidence is going up. So explain that paradox. If the way it's supposed to be is that you get balder and therefore uglier, shouldn't your self-esteem be going down? So please tell me, why is my self-esteem going up? Since I've been making these videos, my self-esteem has gone up as far as in relation. They found me. It's a helicopter. They found me. My self-esteem is going up. And it's not just because I'm becoming better being a YouTuber. I'm saying when I look in the mirror, I feel better about myself as I'm losing hair. Because I don't see it as a negative thing. Maybe I'm hypnotized in a weird way that I actually see it as a good thing. It's just that I find value in other things, masculinity, maturity, confidence. So for me, in closing, I can, in theory, be balder, uglier, yet happier, yet more confident. That's how it's working in my life. Why is it not working in other people's life as they're getting balder? Why aren't they getting happier? Because I'm getting happier in life. Explain that to me. I need to know.